All right, everybody, we got the Celtics preseason finale recap against the Toronto Raptors. That's it for preseason. Coming up next, the regular season a week from tonight against the Philadelphia 76ers. And we've got mediocre life update for you all here on today's show. As y'all know, this is Green with Envy. So let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another edition of Green with Envy. We are recording live, technically not following the Celtics Raptors preseason finale. It's in the middle of wrapping up, not the middle, it's at the end of wrapping up here. Celtics up 108 to 105 with 10 seconds left to go, but we couldn't wait anymore. We've got kids. We wanted to get this going. So, as always, this is your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me, as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast to watch the end of the Celtics preseason finale. It's the one and only Greg Mediocre. How are you doing tonight? And good God, there might be overtime.
Oh, my God. Three-pointer from 35 feet. Jesus Christ. Let's go. Let's see how this game ends. Josh Minott dribbling down the court. Timeout, Joe Mazzulla.
We got a timeout from
Joe Mazzulla calling that timeout. The things have changed here in 2025-26. What was more alarming in terms of lack of ball handling ability? The Celtics once they took out Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, or the Celtics media team against the coaches?
Honestly, it feels like a pretty tight battle for what we just watched tonight. Like, I'm pretty sure in the media game, I watched the CLNS clips. I think the score was 10-0 before the media team got the ball over half court.
Yeah.
And in this fourth quarter, it felt like there was a stretch where the Raptors went on like a 10-2, 12-2 run where the Celtics, same thing, could barely get the ball beyond half court. So I think it's actually a lot closer, unfortunately, than we might want it to be.
Man, all the talk about the media game. I texted Kari, and Joe sprung this on the media people, but I texted Kari. I was like, dude, just like tip me off next time. I'll at least give you guys someone who's played against high-level competition where I'm not going to get freaked out by speed. So like, let me go in the game and like make a couple passes and make it 57-10. You know what I mean? I'm not going to change the outcome of the game, but at least get the ball over half court a couple times. God damn.
That was the number one thing in the Celtics media game, which hopefully we'll have Kari on here later this week to give us some insider information on that game. Lack of ball handling was startling. Now, granted, the Celtics have a pretty impressive coaching staff as Xavier Tillman for the win. Xavier Tillman with the floater. Big X with 0.8 left to go.
No. Hey,
Celtics win. Celtics win.
You got the music? You got the music queued up?
108. Let's see what we can do. Xavier Tillman with the grand finale here. Give it to you. Wait for you to get it on your own. X gonna deliver to you. Oh man. Hey, listen. Even though the Celtics couldn't dribble at the end of that game, Xavier Tillman was playing. That was the best stretch of Xavier Tillman ball I've seen probably in a Celtics uniform in that last 5 minutes. He was great. So it's only fitting that Xavier Tillman gets the game-winning floater here to wrap the Celtics preseason here, 110 to 108.
That was great. That was a great way to end this. Will, here's my question. Is there a world in which this moment right now, Xavier Tillman buzzer beater going into the regular season, is actually the high point of this season? In terms of pure hope and optimism and vibes. Listen, Jaylen Brown already has a sprained hamstring.
This is the headline of the night, unfortunately, is, and we don't know. I've got Twitter open on one screen here, so we'll see if we get any updates here in the post-game pressers. But Jaylen Brown leaving midway through the first quarter with left hamstring tightness, doubtful to return. So as Abby Chin mentioned on the broadcast, doubtful to return in a preseason game leads to hopeful it's not a bad injury. But, Scout pointed this out correctly, like, hamstrings are just really weird, right? Like, some are like a week rest and you're good. Others are nagging injuries that just kind of linger around. So it's not a great start. It's not a great start. That's where we're at. And yeah, that is unfortunately probably the headline. But until we know more, there's not really much that we can kind of get into on that, other than we can talk a little bit about what a JB-less Celtics team looked like. At least the team was playing their real players tonight, Greg. Like, it was nice to see what our team looked like versus a real team. Because I think one thing we over-indexed on our preseason bingo card is Joe Mazzulla playing people outside of the rotation. That's one thing that we probably over-indexed on with some of our RJ Lewis squares where he was cut. Amari Williams, Max Shulga, those squares never even had a chance, right? Like those were gone before we even got started. So yeah, Jaylen Brown, hopefully we'll keep you posted as we're recording this right now. We're live on YouTube, live on Twitter. Game just went final. So we'll be getting some pressers and maybe some updates if we have them. Otherwise, those may come tomorrow. But Greg, again, first game against real competition. I think we actually have some stuff that we can really talk about. So where do you want to start with this? Celtics, Raptors, two teams I think kind of live in the same area. So I like this as like a measuring stick. Where do you want to go with this first?
The Celtics have 2 ball handlers on the team, and that's concerning.
Can we say half? Does Jaylen get a half?
Yeah, he can get a half. It's just like when you guys with point guard full court pressure handles. There's a difference between being able to dribble in the half court in a set offense and being able to handle full court pressure. It's just different. Like Anthony Simons, you can see him when he has space and when he's attacking and when he actually has the threat of a shot. His handle becomes a lot more tricky because he can do so much off of hesitations and things of that nature. But when he is no threat to shoot, when he only has to dribble 94 feet and beat pressure, he does not have the same handle because it's just pure handles, no threat to the shot. You're not in triple threat, and it's just different, right? Peyton Pritchard and Derek White. And Derek White is like the most functional like ball handler, like the pure definition of a functional ball handler. Peyton Pritchard has handles. Peyton Pritchard has like starting point guard handles that can handle any pressure in this league.
He's got top tier in the league handles. Like
exactly.
It's elite handles. Yeah.
So it's good, you know, in knowing that going into the season, we're going to see a lot of Peyton Pritchard at the point guard and Derek White playing the backup point guard, but really it's a 2-point guard starting lineup there with those two out there. So we know we at least have guys that can get us into the offense with the first unit. It's when the second unit comes in and we're trying to figure out exactly how we're going to even get into half court offense. It's going to be difficult. Anthony Simons can shoot the shit out of the ball. Other than that, man, not a very impressive preseason from him. Overall, just like, I was not impressed with Anthony Simons watching him pretty closely.
Yeah, Anthony Simons, and we'll see. I've already got a text out to a guy I work with who's a Blazers fan where I saw I was catching up on the game late, and I saw your message where it's like, can Simons not dribble? Like, was this not a known fact about him? And it wasn't for me. So I have a text out there to a friend who's a Blazers fan. So I'll report back next time or during the podcast if I get an answer here about Simons' handles in the Great Northwest. But yeah, let's talk about this guard trio, because I think this is actually one of the more interesting points aside from the Jaylen Brown injury. And so let's stick with Simons for a minute, and then let's go to Derek White and Peyton Pritchard.
Okay.
But I think with Simons, his ball handling, and we said this the first Raptors game where it was only the backups, where it was like, oh, I had in my head penciled in, to your point, we have 3.5 guys that can run the offense, handle the ball, and, you know, at least get us over half court, right? Like, I had 3.5 guys penciled in that I thought could do it. And to your the way we started this conversation, it's down to 2.5, because what I've seen from Simons is pretty alarming. And I think the part tonight, especially against a more truer representation of the Raptors rotation, is the 6 turnovers, right? Like, I think it led to him trying to pass out of what he couldn't dribble out of. And the passing was really bad. It was bad from Simons. The vision wasn't there. There was things that he was trying to see that just weren't there. And as someone who struggles to dribble, and when they get caught up in that and tries to find a pass out, like, I know the feel. Like, I saw it. Like I saw in Anthony Simons what I see in myself when I face athleticism that I can't functionally dribble around and try to make a reasonable IQ level pass. Like that's not a good thing. I saw this all in Anthony Simons. I was like, that feels like when I feel panic. I don't like that.
I actually kind of see that now. Actually,
Yeah.
what's interesting is that like you're someone that was a pitcher, right? When you played baseball, you were a pitcher. You have a good arm, like you have good aim. But once you have pressure against you, and I'm speaking to the general you, but also to you specifically, it's just different. And Anthony Simons, I really am interested to hear from Blazers people like how much he was actually entrusted to run the offense versus play off the ball, because I was expecting more out of him, having not watched him. To your point, the passing not great. He had that one nice little pocket pass to Nimi, who hit mine it off the baseline cut. That was probably his one
nice
shining moment as a play creator there. But he was 4 for 13 from the field, 2 for 9 from 3. Couldn't really get in a rhythm in this game. He seemed really bothered by the pressure. And as we continued to project out, right, to the next iteration of a Celtics contender, it's like, who on this team could be on that roster, right? And Simons is one of those guys where, like, if the league continues to trend to these like full court, super athletic OKC, Indiana Pacers types defenses, it's just like he's going to have to figure out how to handle full court pressure. Because for me, he does this little like hang dribble, right, with his left hand, and that's when he gets into trouble. When he has somebody on him, he hangs there and he doesn't really go anywhere with the ball, and that left hand is like pretty weak. And I think part of the reason that I mentioned earlier is so much of what he does in the half court is left hand hang dribble into a pull up. Right. But when you're left
without the
hand
threat
hang
of the
dribble,
shot, to your point, when you're 60 plus feet away, that no one cares.
exactly. And they're just going to attack that. So I think that's what I'm seeing out of Simon so far through 3 games. We'll see if it changes, if the Celtics recognize that that's something that they don't want him going up against. We'll see how teams scout him to see if that's something they try to capitalize on, recognizing that maybe he's not the strongest full court ball handler. And we'll see how that progresses. The one thing he can do is shoot, right? He was 2 for 9 tonight, but every time he shoots, I feel like it's going in.
Yeah, he can shoot, he can score. Like he feels very much as advertised, and like I get why people didn't want, or like I don't know if I want to pay him, right? Like cool. I feel very confident. Like tonight, 4 of 13, like on a night where Jaylen Brown goes down and Derek White carried the team. We're gonna talk about him in a second here offensively. Like you need him, and Pritchard didn't shoot the ball well tonight. Like those are the guys that have to be able to be as consistent as possible from a scoring standpoint. And Simons has already proven in his career that he can do that. So it's a valuable asset, right? It's a valuable tool to have. And so he's going to bring that, I think, more often than not. It's just what else is he going to bring to the
You know what it
table?
kind of reminds me of, Will? When the Celtics got Evan Fournier, where we didn't really know too much about Fournier. Like he was a good player on the Nuggets, he was a good player on the Magic, but like we didn't really watch enough of him to know exactly what we were getting. And he could shoot the shit out of the ball, but at the end of the day, it's like, what else was he doing? He was big. I remember Fournier being bigger than I thought. I was like, oh, he's like 6'6", 6'7". He can like make a little bit of an impact with his size. But after watching him for a year, I was like, I don't want to watch Evan Fournier on the Celtics.
Yeah.
For long term, right?
And the thing with Anthony Simons is the other thing that we thought we were getting was explosive athleticism. Haven't really seen that. It's only been 3 preseason games, but haven't seen it the couple times that he's even been, offensively, either in the lane or on a fast break. Like he's gotten his shit rocked a couple times. Like you were kind of expecting a little bit stronger finishing and or more athletic finishing.
Well, he's listed at 6'3", and I know I mentioned this on the last pod, but he plays so much smaller than 6'3", and I actually wonder. I want to go see his combine like measurements because I feel like he's 6'1" and a half. Like 6'3" NBA.
He doesn't feel like he feels the same size as Peyton Pritchard or like he doesn't feel the same. But and I see our guy Cool Genuine Phil is asking about Keita. Give us 1 minute. I want to talk about Keita as well, but let's finish up on the guards here real quick because I think tonight Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, and I know Peyton didn't shoot the ball well. They feel ready for the regular season. I thought Derek White was obviously awesome tonight. 33 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 blocks for Derek White.
And only
7 of
one
9
turnover.
from the only one turnover, 7 of 9 from the free throw line. It was really cool seeing Derek White take on that leadership burden, the scoring burden. Like it was a really cool moment, I think, for just watching Derek White as to what he might be. And that all-star season very well might be coming. I think we're going to get into it before, in the next week or so as we lead up to the season, like what predicting what maybe this all-star could look like. But Derek White is absolutely going to be in the mix. He balled out tonight. And then I think his backcourt mate, Peyton Pritchard, who, as I mentioned, didn't shoot the ball well. We know Peyton can shoot. I'm not worried about that. Like, he can handle the ball pressure. This is the best passing night on the other end of the spectrum, from where Simon's passing was very troubling. I thought this was the most encouraged that I've probably been, especially given what he's going to have to do this year, with Peyton Pritchard seeing the floor, playmaking for others, making some passes that I don't always necessarily see him making, mostly because he doesn't have to, because he's playing off of the Jays, right? And he's more spotting up, occasionally secondary ball handling, not as much primary. But I thought his passing tonight was, was definitely some of the best that I've seen out of him, and made me very encouraged for regular season Peyton Pritchard.
10 assists, no turnovers. So we get 16 assists out of the backcourt with only one turnover. And when you think about what we've discussed, without Jason Tatum, the on-ball reps, obviously Jaylen Brown's going to get his fair share, but what we probably didn't factor in enough is how much of those reps were just going to go to Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, right? Because as much as Jaylen can play on the ball, he's just better as a play finisher, right? He's better working off screens. He's better playing out in transition. He's better playing advantage basketball, because you're just not tapping into his superpower, right? If you put him on the ball and ask him to play make for others, when you have two guys that can do it in Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, right? And when you have Jason Tatum, who's 6'8" and your best player, and can see over the defense and can, just get into an NBA offense pretty easily, and you always feel good with the ball in Jason Tatum's hands, you probably don't entrust enough of that playmaking to Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, though we've called for it in the past. You and I have been clamoring for Derek White to get more touches in the clutch, like with the ball in his hands. And when you see those two guys play to the level that they played against, where it was the Raptors were full court, 94 feet pressure the entire game in New Jersey, right? And to go 16 assists, one turnover out of those two guys, not the most efficient shooting night, but that's kind of what they're going to have to learn to deal with when you don't have Jaylen Brown, who hurt his hamstring, and Jason Tatum, right? So all of the defense is focused on them. And the fact that they were able to play without turning the ball over, efficiency, not great, right? Derek White, 6 for 17 from 3, Peyton Pritchard, 0 for 8 from 3, 1 for 11 from the field. But the fact that they got to the line a combined 17 times and they go 16 assists, 1 turnover, that's really encouraging for those two guys.
Yeah, those are huge stats. Like I'm very pumped for the Peyton Pritchard, Derek White backcourt experience. Like that's probably my most exciting takeaway from this game is let's go with this backcourt. I'm very excited for their combo. And to the chat here, I know our guy Phil was asking about Neemias Queta. He's one of the next guys that I want to talk about here. And I think up until this point, he was in that Simons category of that conversation where it's just been a very disappointing preseason, for Neemias Queta. And tonight gave me at least a little hope. Like it's still the small sample size picture of it all is the inconsistency of Neemias Queta. But tonight's the first time we've had real guys. Jakob Poeltl was out there. They had Mama Dukes, whatever you say his name. I'm just gonna call him Mama Dukes because I can't say it. And he's not on our team, so I don't need to learn it. And Neemias Queta tonight, 4 of 7 from the field. He had 12 rebounds, 8 points, 4 blocks, only 1 turnover, only 1 foul, which I think is a very big and important stat when it comes to him. Because, I mentioned before, my most disappointing moment of the preseason was him committing 3 fouls in about 4 minutes in the third quarter against backups on the Raptors. Like, that was really alarming. And so now against starters, getting this 8 points, 12 rebounds, or, even if those numbers were flipped and it's 8 rebounds, 12 points, like that's the Nemi type of solid night that I think this team needs to truly find a level of competition where if by the time Tatum gets back, you're going to put yourselves in a position to feel like, hey, it makes sense beyond Tatum just wants to come back, but like there's a
Mhm.
chance to maybe do something. These are going to be the type of Neemias Queta nights that I need. As much as it's going to be awesome that he might have a night where he gets 7 dunks and has 20 points and 8 rebounds, I need to avoid the nights of 5 fouls in 12 minutes with 1 rebound and no blocks. Like
Right.
this is kind of my perfect Nemi night. So gave me hope tonight watching him, and he was just good. Made good cuts, made solid reads, had that play that you mentioned before with the pass to mine out in the baseline. Like that was really nice. So I got to give Nemi some credit because I was growing very concerned, and this gave me more hope for him going forward.
Yeah, and you mentioned last pod, small sample size on the whole preseason, right? This is the
Mhm.
first time Kada got like real run this preseason, and for him to step up and kind of meet the moment, I think was important because this is going to be his first year playing consistent NBA minutes, right? And anytime you have someone who's going through that journey for the first time, it's going to be such a roller coaster. Even Luke Cornett, right? Like he was a roller coaster up until this past season where he like finally figured out exactly how to be consistent as a third big off the bench. But Luke has never had to be a starting center on an NBA team, right? He's going to be the
Mhm.
main backup for Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio this year. There's going to be a roller coaster. There's a reason he's not a starting center in the NBA is because he can't be that consistent. So knowing that Kada projects as a backup big long term, and he's being thrust into the starting role, we just have to accept that it's going to be a huge roller coaster season from him because for us to expect him to be able to play consistent quality
Right.
basketball as first year as a real role in the NBA and that real role as a starting center in the NBA, it's just going to be a roller coaster, man. So I would say for the up until Christmas, if we can get one of these Nemi games every 3 games, I feel like that's a pretty good place to start. And he just can't shit the bed in the other 2 games, right? But if we
Right.
can get like 1 out of 3 games where he plays to this level where we're like raising our eyebrows and kind of going like, maybe there's a world in which we need to trade Sam Hauser for a center so Kada can be the backup big and
Right.
Jason Tatum is back towards the playoffs. Like maybe that's the route we go, but that's all I'm expecting out of Kada. I think we have to have the Jalen Rose rule, right? Success is a
Mhm.
function of realistic expectations. And I think that's what we have to look at with Kada. And so I wouldn't try and expect this out of him every night if I'm a fan
For
out
sure.
there. 1 out of every 3 games to start the season, I think would be good.
And I think it's the trend, right? Like I like the way you put Christmas out there as kind of like a line of demarcation. Like, are we getting at least now to start one every 3 games or so? And then from there, it's okay. Can it be 2 out of every 3 games? Can it be, a couple games a week or whatever it is? And then you just start to see the progress over the year. Like that's something that I think we track with him. Something else I wanted to ask you here is so no Sam Hauser tonight, which I think Sam has started all of the games that he's played in the preseason. And so the starting lineup tonight was Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Neemias Queta, Chris Boucher, and Jalen Brown. I think for the most part, we assume Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Jalen Brown, they're starting every
Mhm.
game. I would be surprised if we see differently if they're healthy. Who do you think should be those last 2 spots? And who knows? Joe might be just literally mixing this up every single night.
Mhm.
But typically you do find some type of standardized starting 5 if everybody's healthy. So I'm curious, from what you've seen in the preseason, who would be the 2 that on most nights you would go to add to that Pritchard, White, and Brown triplet group?
Okay, I don't think it's gonna be 2. I know it's kind of a cop out, but I think it's gonna be dependent on the types of rosters that we see out there. If we have a traditional big that can kill us on the boards like a Jakob Poeltl, then I think
Mhm.
you're gonna see Kada in the starting lineup. I would expect Sam to play against teams that maybe have a little bit less athleticism or maybe
Mhm.
or maybe it's more athleticism and we need to spread them out more and have that extra shooter on the court to make room for Derek White, Jalen Brown, and Peyton Pritchard. And I would expect Minot to kind of work his way into that. So I think it's going to be Sam most nights. Maybe there's a game in which Josh Minot sneaks into the starting lineup there. And then I think it's going to be Kada. Maybe you see Boucher, small ball 5 against teams that really can't hurt us inside, but he's so skinny, man. I don't know that he can start at the
Yeah.
5. So I don't think Luka Garza is ever going to get a start at the 5, but I could see Tillman getting a couple starts at the 5. But for the most part, I would expect it to be Sam and Kada. That's what we were expecting 2 months ago when we first like made the Simons trade. So that's kind of what I'm expecting out there. I'm open to other starting lineups if you have any ideas, but that's kind of what I'm seeing.
I mean, after you hit a game winner, how do you not put Xavier Tillman right into the starting lineup? No. Yeah, no, I think you're probably right that it is a rotation. And, I was setting that question up knowing that that's probably the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think ideally, I would like to get to a point where I feel at least confident enough that Keita will be in this version of the Celtics, the starting center more nights than not. Like, I think that even if it's not the initial case, right back to our Nemi conversation about expectations and kind of trending over time. Like, I think that's part of a very successful Nemius Keita season is that even if we're starting off with a rotation, which is fine because this front court is going to be night to night. It's just going to be, get your Pepto Bismol, your antacids ready. Like it's gonna be a journey with this front court. Like it's gonna be tough some nights.
Forget that, dude. Get your
And
fucking adult diapers ready.
yeah, it's gonna be a wild ride. So I think again, the expectation for me is that a successful Namias Keita season by the end of it is that you're just penciling him as a starter. Like that doesn't mean that he's a long-term starter. It means that you feel pretty confident he might be the backup of the future. Even like that's where I think success looks like. But you're probably right, and I think that other spot is just no doubt going to be rotating. Like Boucher is, another roller coaster guy. Sam kind of depends on the matchup. Minot with the athleticism, maybe you throw him in there at some point. Tillman, if you kind of need double beef with him and Keita, maybe there could be something there, but it's going to be a work in progress.
Tillman looks healthy this season, which is good.
He
didn't
does.
look healthy
Knocked
at
down a
all.
3 tonight as well too. Like Tillman looks solid, right? I think it's pretty funny. Like between him and Luka Garza, I really think the two of them look and feel like the most stereotypical, just solid backup big men. Like they're not going to overwhelm you and be like super impressive, but I don't think you're going to watch them and be like, that guy sucks. Like you're like they reminded me. I was thinking tonight as I was watching specifically Luka Garza. This came up with me in my mind where I was like, man, Luka Garza feels like he's just ripped from like our '90s childhood where there's just like Vitaly Potapenko's and Todd McCullough's and Matt Geiger's like all over the place that are like memorable in name, but could I tell you much about their game? Not really, but like I know they started and they played for these teams, and like tonight's game had a very '90s NBA feel to it, just kind of ugly and bad shooting. It felt like it. Like Derek White had 33 points, and everyone else had, he was the only high scorer on the entire team.
It did feel very early 2000s, late 90s. If I had to say one of those two guys, Luka Garza or Xavier Tillman, 2 years from now will be in the NBA, which one is it? Because it ain't both of them.
Right now I'd lean Luka over Xavier Tillman, even though I think Xavier Tillman looks good. Yeah, I just and we'll see, because Xavier Tillman, 2 years ago, I was pretty high on us bringing him in as a backup because it felt like he got real minutes with Memphis in real moments and held up. So I don't hold. I still am holding
in the NBA Finals.
That's what I'm saying. So I think that Tillman, there's still that chance. I liked what I saw from Luka in the preseason. Like I thought he was just steady. Like I'm not gonna sit here and like, I know sometimes when I say I like a guy, I feel like you turn him into, I know you're a big Luka guy. Like I don't know if I'm a big Luka guy. I just thought he was solid. Like that's about it, But I do think like with like to the point of Keita's gonna be a roller coaster, Boucher is gonna be a roller coaster. Like Luka's probably not going to have a lot of high highs, but his lowest lows are like not that bad compared to what I think the lows of even a guy like Boucher or Keita could be, where it's like, this is an abject disaster. They're costing us the game. They're fouling. They're setting poor screens. They're, all over the place. Boucher's, trying to dribble and do more than he needs to offensively. Like Luka knows his role. Luka knows what he's supposed to be doing. And so I do think that there is, it's boring, but the reliability that comes with it, I think will be something that gets him into the lineup more nights than it has him sitting on the bench.
Okay. I'm going to go opposite. I was high on Luka Garza, and I've swung completely the other way. Where I'm just like, I don't think this guy's an NBA player. But we'll see. I
What's
obviously I
it?
don't want.
Tell me a little bit more. Like what is it? Because to me, like, I thought he was just very steady. Like I thought he was very steady. He was fine. What is it to you that's just like this dude is not an NBA player?
Just the physical limitations that he has, the slow
That's fair.
feet, the heavy feet, um, slow shot, poor defense. I mean, he's a decent defender, but like he's not gonna play a meaningful minute.
I mean,
Probably
his physical traits are what
he's
make him not
probably
able to
never
be a
going to
quality defender.
play a meaningful playoff minute at basketball.
Oh, I would agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would. It's weird. Like
and Tillman has, right?
and Tillman has. That's fair. That's very fair. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. I'm very curious how Joe's going to set up his rotation. Again, I think we're spot on. It's probably going to be night to night with the bigs. That's just going to be a guessing game of what it's going to look like. But then you get to the wing spot, and let's talk about three wings that all played tonight. We got Josh Minott, we got Jordan Walsh for 11 minutes, and we got Ugo Gonzalez. And we can throw Baylor Scheinman in this mix too. He played 15 minutes tonight. Like, let's talk about that grouping of four because with the bigs, I think all the bigs are going to kind of play because who knows who's going to work in what scenario because they're all not that great. They all have such, enormous flaws. Jaylen Brown's going to be at the head of the snake when it comes to the wings. And then you have these four guys in which I think not all of them are going to play, but I'm curious to know how Joe's going to utilize them. It seems very obvious. I think in the preseason, Josh Minott and Ugo Gonzalez should be at the front of this. But
Mhm.
curious to what your thoughts were on these four guys tonight and the preseason overall.
Can we play a game?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Start one, bench one, cut one, send one to China.
Ooh, okay. So out of those guys, starting Josh Minott
Okay.
for this season, right? Like this isn't
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
long-term projection. Yeah. For this season, I'm starting Josh Minott. Josh Minott, he did nothing to change my mind. He's the MVP of the preseason as far as like not having expectations. Another solid 9 points, 4 rebounds, 1 of 2 from 3, had a really nice offensive board in there, had some nice cuts. Josh Minott, he's the start. Ugo Gonzalez, very close behind. They would be between the two of them in which you might flip them, and that's fine with me because Ugo Gonzalez, long term, that's the guy. The spin move tonight that he had in that first quarter,
That's nice.
knocked down a couple of threes. You see the athleticism. He seems like he has good IQ. We got to cut down. He had 5 fouls, a couple that were a little bit, just IQ based. It was, you just got to, cut those down. That will come with time. So it's whatever. He's 19 years old. Very easily, he's in the bench spot. The cut and send to China, man, that's tough. I'm probably cutting Baylor Scheinman and sending Jordan Walsh to China. Again, Jordan Walsh, I don't know what he does. I just don't know what he does. I understand he's still young. It's the third year in the NBA, and it's a goal business. Like it
Yeah.
is what it is. Like
Getting into Romeo Langford territory with him, right?
yeah, like either you can do stuff on the court or you can't, and because we can't pay you next year to find out if you still can again. Like this
Yeah.
team has opportunity, so either you can or you can't. Baylor Shireman, I text you this every night. His confidence ceases to amaze me. I don't know where it comes from, but it blows me away. And so that type of irrational confidence, at least I guess, gives hope that it will spring into something on certain nights, which we have seen last year. There's 1 or 2 games where it was like, oh shit, Baylor Shireman night. Didn't expect
Right.
that. So he's the cut guy, but Ugo and Josh are the 2 guys that if only 2 out of those 4 are going to get the majority of minutes behind JB on the wing, I feel like it has to be those guys.
I think that's the right answer. Rob version 1 agrees with you in the chat. He says Josh, Hugo, Walsh, and Baylor. Oh, so he flipped Walsh and Baylor. Cool Genuine Phil says bye Baylor, bye Walsh. So I think everyone's kind of on the same page here. And
Yeah.
Rob also says I think Baylor has more potential than Walsh, but unless he can figure out his shooting, he's a negative on the floor right now. Pretty close on Walsh and Baylor. Walsh is just invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Danielle, who I promised her I'd give her some, like, she watched the preseason with me and she wants some credit for watching preseason basketball because she doesn't even watch like NBA Finals basketball.
Yeah.
She said she had never seen Jordan Walsh before. And I was like, he's been on the team for 3 years. But she goes, who's that man?
Rarely does he make an appearance. It's fair.
Yeah. She goes, he looks like Hot Squidward. Do you know Hot Squidward?
I mean, I know Squidward. I don't know Hot.
Look
Squidward.
up as I'm talking, Google Hot Squidward. And I was like, I mean, he's got alopecia, She was like, that doesn't have anything to do with it. I was like, do you know Charlie Villanueva? She's like, no, but she did. You know how
Okay,
she text.
wild that you even thought that was worth a question to ask. Do you know who Charlie Villanueva is? There's people listening to this podcast right now who don't know who Charlie Villanueva is.
That's fair. That's fair. But we were watching a couple games together, and Jaylen Brown had this one nice move, and this is the one which she texted you about, where I referred to Jaylen Brown as that one guy.
Yeah.
Where he had this like little baseline spin fadeaway where he like spun to the baseline, left the ball out there, did a step back and drew a foul. I don't know if you can recall that play. I think it was in the first game, but she referred to that and she's like, "Ooh, I like that. He did this little like twirl and he did like this little secret dribble." And I was like, "Yeah, that's." She's like, "It was like a little secret." It's like, yeah, that's about what my spouse is giving me in terms of basketball conversation, which is why I look forward to these conversations so much after the game, Will, because that's what's coming at me during the game. So shout out to Danielle for
my wife's head down on the phone, and I'm like, "Here, you can take the TV. I'll go in my office." That's our film breakdown. So you get more than I get. So I'm excited for these as well. I'm just looking at Hot Squidward, by the way.
Yeah,
This
what are your
was
thoughts?
actually in the show. Like this was.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, kind of. I mean, to say it has nothing to do with the alopecia is wild. It clearly does.
Right.
Like that's the main reason that I think they kind of like look the same, or that's why this comparison would come up. So it absolutely has to do with that.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess I could see it a little bit. But yeah, Jordan Walsh, I really wanted to see something. I just, he's invisible as we got in the chat here. So
And
I
this is what
think Jordan
happens,
Walsh is
dude.
what it is.
This is what happens when you bring in, like, with these young guys, you get one contract to see if you can make an impact. And if you can't make an impact on the team that drafts you, you end up in a Josh Minott situation where you go to another
Right.
team and you get another chance there. That's what happened to Romeo Langford. Went to the Spurs, got another chance. Now he's out of the NBA, right? So Jordan Walsh will probably get another look because he is so young. Don't know if it's going to happen on the Celtics. He'll probably have a couple of moments this year where we're like, oh, Jordan Walsh, maybe he's figuring it out. We said that plenty of times about Romeo Langford, and I think you're right. At some point, you have to do something on a basketball court that is an NBA skill, and I don't know that he has that NBA skill right now, which is unfortunate because I think he's a talented player, and I think he's got these flashes of potential, but he needs one thing that he can like really hone in on, and he doesn't have it right now.
Yeah, quick update here. I'm just refreshing Twitter here. This is from John Corrales 12 minutes ago. Joe Mazzulla says there's no update on Jaylen Brown, but he talked to him after, and Brown told him he'll be okay. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll get more about that as we get closer to the opening night game against the Sixers. But hopefully that is, it was a minor tweak, and this is just a precautionary that he was held out for the rest of this game. But Greg, this is the team. This is the squad. This is the squad going into this season. And, we're going to have at least probably 2 more podcasts before we tip off on next Wednesday night against the Sixers, in which we'll do some more predictions and preview. But I want to just ask you, Greg, before the preseason to now, so the last week and a half or so, basically, has the preseason, without, you don't have to give any predictions yet, but do you think that as you've actually seen this team on court, it's made you more or less confident than what you had thought before the preseason started?
Probably a little bit more confident, just because I think they've found the style that I think fits the roster, right? They have to be a team that creates chaos. They have to be the underdog Celtics. They have to find the advantages in advantage basketball that are kind of slept on or we hadn't thought about. And I think pushing the tempo and leaning into a lot of Derek White and Peyton Pritchard pick and roll situations where they're going to be very efficient. So if we can have a low turnover team, because if you take, starting lineup, we had 4 turnovers in the starting lineup tonight. Like that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
So if we can reduce turnovers, increase deflections, increase steals and stocks, I think we'll hang in some games, especially because we're going to shoot so many 3-pointers. In terms of over-unders, if we're talking like that, the lack of depth is the scariest thing, right? if we have one of our top 3 guys, which I'm calling Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White, our top 3 guys, not in that order, but those are the 3 guys, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So that's
Yeah,
kind of where I'm at. Like one injury, all of a sudden we're like a lottery team.
Yeah, I mean, if this team just stays fully healthy, like I think there's a 9-man rotation here that I can get pretty excited about, right? Like knowing again the front court is just a giant gaping hole of mystery that night to night, hopefully somebody sticks and gives you just enough production without hurting you. But I think that that Jalen Pritchard, Derek White, Anthony Simons, Sam Hauser group that I'm kind of relying on to be solid. Like I feel pretty good about them. Obviously Simons, we talked about that, we're still getting to know him a little bit. And I think I'm less excited for Simons than I was before the preseason started. Like he just kind of lived up to my mediocre expectations, if you will.
Yeah.
But I have enough faith in Sam, Peyton, Derek, and Jalen that like that's a pretty steady core. Like, maybe in my mind, I might not have been giving them enough credit as like a steady core going into the season.
Yeah.
And the East is just gonna be bad. I think the East is just gonna be bad. So I think watching them against the Raptors tonight, it's like there's gonna be like 7 of these teams that are all in this like could eke their way into the 6th seed, could be, in that Mavericks territory last year where you're the first, second team outside of the play-in, and maybe you get a lottery pick. And to your point, as we saw tonight, when Jaylen Brown goes out, and this could also apply for if Peyton Pritchard goes out or if Derek White goes out for an extended period, those 3 specifically, I'm probably going to start looking at the draft, at the tanking odds as soon as that happens, if they're going to be out for a prolonged stretch. And that's a little bit scary because if that happens, that's fine. But I would like to have a little bit of a season where I'm kind of surprisingly encouraged and maybe even get a little irrational with like what I think this
out a
team
little
could be.
bit. Chirp it.
Yeah, just like shit. Look at these guys. Maybe I was underestimating them. We're probably not. We're probably being pretty realistic about what their floor and their ceiling is. But I would like to have that at least for a moment, because the closer you get to that February, March, and it's like, yeah, man, this is like a real 6-7 seed that's like hanging tough. And yeah, we get Tatum back and you just start to dream. And maybe it's like, maybe we start to be able to look at like, hey, can Brad pull some magic here at the deadline that actually does something for us this season? And likely it's going to be looking ahead to next year again, but it's going to be fun to have that hope.
Yeah, you start talking yourself into fucking Dwight Howard or Boogie Cousins or something like scrappy big out
like,
there.
Dude, he just scored 50 in Puerto Rico. Like I'm pretty sure he could. I mean, honestly, compared to
we
some
need
of
a
our
little
bigs,
toughness on this team. Call me up some Boogie Cousins. Yeah.
Like there could be something out there. You never
Ben
know.
Simmons, Russell Westbrook. Like you start talking yourself into some
Westbrook's
crazy
gone.
names.
Westbrook got signed today.
Oh, did he? To who?
Yeah, he went to the Kings. So that
Okay.
like connection that's been there all offseason. I don't really understand why the whole time they were like, can't sign him unless we trade Malik Monk for nothing. It was like the weirdest stance that a team's ever taken on a guy who's pretty good. And then eventually they were just like, I guess Russell just was like, cool, I'll take the minimum. I don't want to go to China.
You know what? That's interesting. You just brought up Malik Monk. Watching Simons, I'm like, who's better, Simons or Monk?
I mean, like honestly, from what I've seen of Monk, I like Malik Monk better. Like give me another 5-6 games. Like I think I've watched more Malik Monk than I've watched Anthony Simons at this point.
Same.
In
I also
my
love
NBA watching
college.
Career. Yeah, and like the dude can shoot it. I think he's actually. I'd have to see how he does against full court pressure. I can't really picture that in my head right now. But even in the half court, I kind of picture him as a slightly better playmaker than Anthony Simons. Not that he's like a world beater in that sense, but just on a 1-to-1 comparison level.
And he uses his athleticism. Anthony Simons, where the fuck is your athleticism, dude? You got like a 40-inch vertical. Use that shit.
Yeah, that's the strangest part. Again, that's part of my text I got out to my Portland people here is like, where's the athleticism and why can't he dribble better? Those are the 2 like biggest things I got to find out about.
How much does he weigh? Does he weigh like 160?
He doesn't. I mean, it's not a big dude. I mean, like you said, he seems like he's what's he listed at 6'3". What I don't know what the weight is.
There's
6'3",
no way he's 6'3". He's maybe 6'3" at the top of the fro, but I don't think he's 6'3".
Yeah, maybe he's like 6'1.5", 6'3" with shoes, and definitely
kind of Well,
Defensively, I'm going to see if he gets picked on a little bit more. We didn't
question.
really have a chance to see that in the preseason, but
Kind of looks like Black Kramer.
I get to, his hair does look like you ever seen It's Always Sunny when they do like the Seinfeld reenactment, like the Charlie Kelly's like fake Kramer wig. It is a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit Anthony Simons-ish, like, so that does actually work a little bit. I like that. But all right, we'll have more as a preseason preview coming up. We'll have at least another 2 podcasts or so leading up to Celtics Sixers on opening night, and then we will be live
should have
after
Kari
that
Thompson
game.
on.
Yeah,
As
Kari
well,
Thompson from
yeah.
Boston.com should be joining us at some point this weekend. We'll get the inside scoop of the media's barely lost 57-4 against the Celtics coaches, which to be fair, the Celtics have some like real coaches that are
Dude,
like
yeah, they've
young
got
and
like
athletic, like
yeah,
Emil Jefferson. Joe Mazzulla's our age. He's 37. Me and you play in rec ball tomorrow night. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
Joe Mazzulla could, and he would be, Joe Mazzulla would be the best player in our league if he
right.
was out here. Like, so it definitely wasn't. By the way, okay, let's just talk about this real quick. Then we'll go to mediocre life update here quickly. Joe totally planned this. And I think this is one of the funniest things Joe's has ever done, because the same way that you and I sometimes sit here, like, and we're just like, I don't know, man, should this dude who like, like, listen, Bobby Manning seems like a nice guy. He puts out some clips. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not a good dribbler. I've seen you dribble in some of these clips. It looks pretty rough. And like, Joe in his mind is like at some point gonna bust out when they ask him a question when he's like, I don't know, man, how would you handle the double team? I've seen it, not very well. Like that type of response. Like Joe set this all up with a future goal in mind.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But we'll talk about it more with Kari. I don't want to get in too much of the mind games because I want to get his perspective as to what he thinks the psychology behind it actually was. If it was a bonding, or was it bonding or bullying, is I guess the question at the end of the day.
I think John Zanis put that out there. He was like, this was bonding, or this was bullying disguised as bonding. Is what I think he
it's
said.
pretty great.
And so both of those fit Joe Mazzulla's personality. But all right, with that, let's go to our new favorite segment. Let's queue up some mediocre life updates. Greg, I failed again. Don't have music. Our guy Alex does have it on our YouTube page. There's gonna be a new section that we have in there. I'm gonna have that uploaded here for the next one. Things happen. Didn't get it done. It is what it is. Do you want to go first here, or do you want me to?
No,
take
you go
this one?
first. You go first. You lead us off.
I'll go first on this one. So I mentioned that earlier in the podcast, I was kind of catching up, right? I was a little bit behind, and shout out to League Pass. League Pass is great for just being able to catch up and still do this, because I can just kind of fast forward through, commercials, free throws, whatever. And then I was fully caught up by the fourth quarter, despite joining in probably about 45 minutes late. But the reason I was late, Greg, is as a parent, this is going to turn into a little bit of a parent corner here as well. Had my first school function as a parent. And I don't know if you've had any of these yet. James is about 10 months ahead of Mariana.
Yeah, no, maybe we didn't go.
Okay, yeah. So there was a fundraiser tonight at like a just local burger spot here in Austin, where it's like 25% of proceeds go to the school or whatever. And so we were like, all right, cool. And like our friends Caroline and Ben go to the school as well. Their youngest son is in our daughter's class. We're like, cool, we'll go with you guys. Like, yeah, let's, it's right around, like, it's a mile away from the school. And it's funny, Greg, when you're getting ready to become a parent, like I always think back to like Knocked Up. Oh, I didn't read the baby books. How did the Egyptians ever have a baby without the baby books?
Yeah.
And, we all try to prepare in what we can. And like, whether that's books, that's through internet articles, whatever it might be, 100%. And this has like been something I'm just realizing in the last month and a half as my daughter started daycare, completely did not prepare myself mentally for the aspect of parenthood that is dealing with like schools and other parents and administrators and like teachers that like eventually like I think long term I had thought about like, oh, this will be cool, like softball or basketball or volleyball, and like doing like swimming lessons, like that stuff I had thought of. The parenting aspect of it and like becoming social, and again, I'm this is something that I've been remote in my full-time job now for 5 years, and I've completely lost a lot of the social skills that I used to have day to day being like in an office. And going into this environment, I gotta say I was a little overwhelmed. It was a little much for me. Kids running everywhere.
Did you revert back to like who you were when you were in school? like high school Will who pretended to be a janitor for 6 months and cleaned, literally walked into. Can you tell the people what you used to do? Because I don't know if everyone's heard this
Yeah,
story.
the fake janitor story. So this was in high school, I think like 10th grade or so. At one point, just was talking to a friend, shout out to my guy Joe, and we were just like hanging out, like as I was like walking around, like during study hall or something. And he and I were just chatting. I was like, "Oh yeah, what class are you?" And he's like, "I'm in English class." It's like it's just like I don't even know why he said it, and then I don't know why I did it. He's like, "Yeah, why don't you just come in?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I literally just came into this classroom, sat down, just hung out for like 5 minutes, and then the teacher, shout out to my girl Figgy, just looks around, and she just goes, "Wait a minute, who are you?" And I just ran out of the classroom. That's it. That was the end of it. And then she had questions, and then from there, the students kind of made up a story of like, "Oh yeah, you don't know that's the janitor." Like someone came up with this, and then she was like, "I haven't seen that guy before," and they really got her believing that I was the janitor. And for some reason, the janitor sat down in class for several minutes and then ran away and didn't say anything. Like, come on, man, you gotta use a little bit more common sense. And so they told me this, and so then every day for like maybe a month or two, I would literally on my lunch break, like on the way back before I went to my classroom, I'd stop into her classroom, I'd pick up her trash, say, "Hey, how you doing?" And then I'd go dump it out into the bigger trash in the hallway, come back and say, "Hey, hope you have a really nice day." And I would do this, 2, 3 times a week for like a month, 2 months. And then eventually, even at one point, it was Valentine's Day. I sent her a carnation, like whatever we sent, like it was flowers or candy, whatever. Sent it from the janitor. She yelled at a random student for thinking that they were impersonating me and that they were being disrespectful to my name. I think eventually she caught on to it. I think she caught me waiting for the bus to go play baseball or something. But even then, I think at one point someone was like, "Oh, he's also an assistant baseball coach," because I've
That's
always looked
amazing.
older. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so ongoing running gag, and that was just let's go with the flow. Let's hop in. I'll go do something weird and wild. Like this version of Will now, 36 years old, dude. I was like, I just want to go in the corner and observe. I don't want to talk to anybody, but like,
You've
there's
turned
parents who
into
are like,
me.
yeah, and I think you're the exact opposite because, like, even like before some of our basketball games, you'll be like, "Oh, just talking to people, like you're from here, whatever." And I'm like, I don't talk to people I don't know. Like, I'm literally stranger danger in my life these days. It's like a
Yeah.
complete U-turn of who I used to be, and so this new element, I was just not ready for. Of like parents were like, "Oh my God, are you Mariana's dad? Are you this? Are you that?" And then like they're telling me about all their kids, and like I got to do the kind of like, "Oh, that's him. He's such a cutie. I see him when I come in each day," and like yada yada. And like, I don't know. I just mediocre life update for me was not prepared for the social aspect
Yeah.
of parenting and school events. And so had my first introduction today, and that's why I was late to the game. And yeah, that's another. It's now I'm gonna be more prepared next time. But it is something you gotta actually mentally prep for that I had just not accounted for until now.
You got to start pushing and nudging Mariana towards the parents that you want to be friends with, right?
Oh,
Like
for sure.
don't go to those creepy people over there. Like we don't want to hang out with them, please.
And so you
All right,
haven't done any of these school events yet, right?
no, we haven't. And like every time I pick up James from daycare, I see more or less the same people. And I'm friendly, I give them the hello or whatnot, but I don't want to be friends with any of them. Like,
Right. You don't know
yeah,
their names though, right?
no. That's
Yeah, that's the
crazy.
thing. I've had a few people introduce their names. I don't remember them, and I just like same. I know the faces. I'm like, that's a parent from the daycare, but names. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough. It's a whole new world, man. It's yeah, gotta get it prepared for it. What do you got for mediocre life update?
Okay, first I just want to address in the chat. Rob says, Will, Greg should join next media versus coach. Will, you've seen me when I was athletic and you've seen me now. I don't think I would make much of a difference now in this
Here's
media
the thing.
versus coaches game.
We'll get into this more with Kari, but from what I
Yeah.
saw, my shooting and your dribbling could be used out there. That's all I'll
Yes.
say.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. We'll talk about it more with Kari when he's on. I agree. Okay. My mediocre life update. So Friday, I'm picking up James from daycare. On the way back, we're at the corner of William Cannon and South Congress. I'm in the middle lane waiting at the red light, and I'm on the phone with Danielle. And then all of a sudden, I just catch something out of my peripheral, and then I hear the crunch, smacks into my right fender, right in front of my passenger side door, getting this big car accident. My car like spins out. He pulls up onto the median. I follow him there. I'm beeping at him. You know how when you get in a car accident, you kind of just like black out. But Danielle was on the
Yeah.
phone with me, so she kind of like like relived it for me. But apparently I was like honking on the horn, like, what the fuck, buddy? So I go onto the median, and James is in the backseat crying. I'm like, fuck, like my
Oh,
kids.
that's what I was gonna ask you. That's like I have this panic thought every time I have Myron in the car. So
Yeah. So first car accident with James, but the dude gets out of his car and he's already on the phone, and he's ostensibly talking to his insurance. Oh yeah, I just got in a car accident. I'm here. He's like he's like, hey man, you good? He's like, is your baby okay? And I'm like, yeah, dude. Like I decided to be calm about it. I was like, are you okay, man? Like I know. He was like, yeah, I'm so sorry. My brakes jammed and I apologize. Like I feel really bad about this. Like, are you sure your baby's okay? And I went in the back. He was fine. He was just startled. He was running around like later that night. And I take a picture of the guy's insurance. We take pictures and do all that. He's like, on the phone with his insurance, and he's like, hey, I think I need a tow truck here. Like, I'm not going to be able to drive this. Like the brakes jammed. And so we exchange insurance information, and he's on the phone with his insurance, and he's like, yeah, my insurance will reach out to your insurance. We'll get it all figured out. So that's Friday. Sunday comes around, not a peep from insurance. And I'm like, this motherfucker, like, did he pretend to be on the phone this whole time with a fake insurance? And like, even though he showed me his insurance, I have a picture of his insurance with Allstate. And I'm just going to put this motherfucker on blast right now. Jonathan Self, who works at SHI, because I LinkedIn your ass. And I emailed SHI, not going to lie, because he is not taking liability for this. He's not admitting fault for it. So now I have to file through my insurance and pay my motherfucking $1,000 deductible. So I emailed SHI and I was like, listen, man, you got a shit human being working for you. He's making me pay
hold
money.
up. So you have his okay. I haven't been in a car accident in a little bit. So you have his insurance information, but he has to also report it, right?
He has to report it. But I reached out to his insurance and I was like, hey, like maybe there's an insurance person who's listening right now and might be able to help me out. But I reached out to his insurance. I'm like, listen, I have pictures, I have text messages from the dude, because we also exchanged numbers, and he like asked me if my baby was okay. And I was like, yeah, man, like thanks for asking. I was like, are you okay? And I was like, I can send you screenshots, I can send you whatever. I have his insurance, and they've been trying to get in contact with him. It's what, Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? Yeah. So they've been trying to get in contact with him, and they were like, he's not answering his phone. He's not responding to emails. We're just going to be honest with you. This guy's not going to answer. Like, you should just go through your own insurance. And I was like, yeah, but you also don't want to like pay. And they're like, yeah, but they're like, if he's not responding to us and not responding to you right now, like, you don't have evidence that this actually happened and that it was like, you don't have a police report.
I was going to say that was going to be, which you don't necessarily want to do that extra work, but like filing a police report with his name and that information, like that is probably the next step. If this guy's not going to answer, like, it's shitty, but he's doing it to himself. Like he's putting you in that position that you have to do it. Like, it sucks because the whole point of like that conversation afterwards was like, we don't need to do this, right? We don't need to take it this route. And especially when it seems amicable with like, hey, checking on everybody, like, yo, my brakes jammed, whatever that means. Like, here's my information. And like, it's really weird that I don't know. It feels like he must have panicked after he gave you his information, because it sounds like his information was legit.
I know. I looked him up on LinkedIn, dude. Look him up right now. Anybody who's listening, look this motherfucker up right now. Jonathan Self works at SHI.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should file a police report against him. I think you should.
We'll see.
I think that it's a shitty way to go, but I think that's your only move, unfortunately. Like, I don't like, because otherwise you're just caught with all the shit, which sucks because you're just getting screwed over. Like, I think it's the only way to protect yourself in this situation.
What if I told you I also called him and left him a voicemail telling him to be a good person and do the right thing? And I told him that karma's a bitch, and if he doesn't do the right thing, like, it's gonna come back.
I love the idea of this going to court and then him playing that voicemail as some form of like evidence. Like, this guy's a psycho. This is why I was scared.
He told me he wasn't trying to make any threats or anything, but it certainly sounded like a threat.
What would you do if this maniac called you? I've got evidence too.
Oh,
Oh
Jesus Christ.
God,
So
that
now, I
sucks,
mean, the
man.
car got towed today because it wasn't drivable. So,
Oh,
so when I was driving home, I like had to
brutal,
stop
brother.
multiple times. Yeah. So it got towed to the collision place today, the auto body shop, to fixing it. Gonna see if I can get a rental tomorrow. But yeah, that's my mediocre life update. I guess it's a bad life update, huh? Gonna be
Yeah,
$1,000 down. That's my deductible.
that sucks. Yeah. Okay. Everybody listen out there. If you work in insurance, please DM us. Let us know if you think Greg has other options that we are not thinking of. At Green MV Pod, you can email us celticsnoise@gmail.com. If you've been in a similar situation and you think you have another way out that we're not thinking of other than outside of a police report or what we can do to help limit the damage here, please message us because this is a situation I would love for us. This would be an amazing story for us to get our community to help us resolve and fix. So if you have any ideas, hit us up. We would love to hear them, and maybe we can turn a bad/mediocre life update into a really nice life update and one of
I
community
like
and
that.
not
I like
and
that.
not one about what's shit brand's name again?
Jonathan Self. Fuck you, buddy.
So, they're gonna use this whole podcast
Right. Yeah.
against us in
It's
this.
like this is performative. It's like
Yeah.
Eminem writing a song back in the early 2000s. I don't mean any of that shit. I'm just writing a
Yeah.
song.
Exactly. We just did it for the likes. We just did it for the clicks. That's it. That's it. All right, that's gonna do it for this edition of Mediocre Life Update, as well as this edition of Green with Envy. As we mentioned, season starts Wednesday against the Sixers. We're gonna have our guy Kari Thompson in here over the weekend, so we'll get you a preview with him as well as the inside scoop on Celtics media versus the coaches. And then we'll have likely either another guest or at least another preview pod before we get to Wednesday. And maybe Greg. Joel Embiid on the practice court. Maybe we get an Embiid appearance in opening night. We'll see. Who knows? But the season's here. So get ready to lock in with us. For myself, I'm Will. We've got Greg here. We will catch you guys later this weekend. This is Green with Envy. Appreciate y'all. Peace.